In a culture that tells us we can choose motherhood or, Good Counsel knows we're meant for motherhood and. Hi, I'm Samantha Elbertson. I work on behalf of the maternity home Good Counsel. We have 4 homes in New York and New Jersey where motherhood is rescued, preserved, and celebrated every day. This is Motherhood and. Hi, JoAnn. I'm so happy to spend time with you today.
And thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Would you like to begin with some of your background and how you got involved with pro-life work in South Jersey?
Absolutely. I'm a teacher by degree. I taught 4th and 5th grade. And then I was Cradle Catholic, always going to church, always going to mass, always going to the convent, helping the nuns, and just loved my faith. When I finished teaching, I got involved in business, and one of those business trips took me to Israel, and I was able to walk the path that Jesus walked, and my faith just came alive. It just absolutely came alive for me, and I wanted to do more with the gifts that God gave me. When I came home, I just remember couldn't wait to go to church, and I just remember flipping through the Missal Latin, not even listening to the priest, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I was there! And then an opportunity came up for me to run the religious education program, and I did that, and I loved it. And that's, just being with the children, I guess, as a teacher, but being with the children and teaching them to respect life at a very early age, which they probably didn't get much at their home. And that's when I really realized that I could do more in the pro-life movement, forming the Catholics of the future and giving them the right foundations and what they need to know about life from conception to natural death. And I stayed with that program for 12 years, and then churches merged and all that happened. And then I saw an advertisement for Good Counsel, and at the time, my mother was very ill, and I wasn't able to. But I don't know, 3 months later, I called, and the position was still open. And I went and I interviewed, and I absolutely knew that this is what God was priming me to do. My whole life, my personal life, my business life, this is where he was leading me. And I fell in love with it. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea how to run a home, but I thought, you know what, God, you put me here. You're going to give me the people I need. And he did. And it was wonderful. Brenda Quinn and Bill Klatt had been raising money for 5 years for the home, to open the home. They were looking to try to open a home in the Camden Diocese, but that's when everything was merging. And this opportunity came up in the Trenton Diocese, which is where the home currently is now, 13 years later, going into our 14th year now. And I remember the basketball players were in the old convent, and they just made a mess of it. So they finally got him out of it. And, we found all the crucifixes from when the nuns were there, Jesus' arm was hanging and everything. And we one of our staff restored all the crucifixes. And there were 2 nuns that were still living that originally had been in the convent. And we invited them. Sorry. We invited them to come. And when they walked in, and the first thing they saw were the crucifixes, they went, "Oh my gosh, you found them, you fixed them." And we took them all through, and it was so wonderful for them to see, what the convent had become. So we go through all the inspections, the re-inspections, everything it took to open the home, and we finally got clearance to open the home. And when we sat with the staff, I remember sitting with the staff in April, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are we going to fill this place? It was April 4th, and by the end of the month we were full. We were totally full by the end of the month. And our first mom, when she had come to us, she actually came through the prayer warriors, that there's a local abortion clinic. And, they went up to one of the mothers and said, you don't have to do this. She said, I don't know where to go. And they said, now you do.
Oh.
And they brought her right over to our home. And it's been, it's been the grace of God ever since. All those kinds of stories that happen. One time I remember I was leaving Thanksgiving Eve, and this was maybe 3 or 4 years we were open. And I'm getting ready to leave. It was about 7 o'clock and it was raining out, I remember. And there's a knock on the door, and there's a man with a mom, obviously very pregnant, who had been kicked out. And he knew us, and he brought her to us and said, okay, I don't know what to do. And I said, how can I go home and eat a Thanksgiving dinner and, and say, well, we can't, she didn't call, she didn't do this. I said, come on in and we'll take care of it tomorrow. So those are the kind of things that, just happen that just reassure us that's why we're supposed to be there.
JoAnn, do you want to tell me, you answered an ad for Good Counsel, moved by the Holy Spirit. So what was your official position? And then how did the home operate back then? And maybe what are some of the differences that you see in the home today?
Yes, I answered the ad, and I interviewed with John Beck, and who rest his soul, but he was with us for so long. And I remember we met in I guess it was the sacristy of the church, which is now the case manager's office, but it had all the drawers, the filing cabinet with all the drawers in it that you pull everything out. And I remember sitting in the chair, wiping the dust off the chair, and sitting with John. And I just said, this is where I want to be. I could see, what it was going to be. So then after I spent time with him, and I could look past all the dust and everything that was falling down and see the babies running through the hall. And then I met with Chris Bell. We met somewhere on the turnpike, and I met with Chris, and I told him this is what I really felt like I was being called to do and being prepared to do my whole life, my personal and business life. And so we got the job. There was just me and the construction workers and Bill. And we kind of laid everything out where we wanted the case manager's office, which was then the old sacristy, and the chapel and the business offices, and then where the rooms would be. So we had to outfit everything from beginning to end. We had a group, 2 women that bought for all the bedrooms. They bought all the furnishings. They bought all the sheets. They bought all the comforters. They bought all the pillows. They bought everything for every single bedroom. They bought the throw rugs. They bought the lamps that we needed. They were just, God just sent the people. It was just amazing that he just sent the people that we needed. So now I'm starting to hire the staff now, because it's just me. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to hire the staff just like I was hired. I didn't make any fancy room. I wanted to talk to the people. And if they could see what I saw, then I wanted them. So we met in the same sacristy. I might have dusted the dust off the chairs, but it wasn't fancy. It wasn't fancy. And I didn't want it to be fancy, because I wanted them to be able to see. If they could see, then I knew that that's where they were meant to be. So we hired full staff. We hired a case manager. And as a matter of fact, I remember saying to John, I know nothing about case management. I owned a business. I know how to run businesses. I know nothing about case management. And he said to me, then you hire the person that does.
That's right.
And it was the
Surround
perfect
yourself with experts. Yeah.
It really was. And the case manager we hired, she was fabulous. She was with us, quite a few years. And we were staffed 24/7, 2 per shift, and an overnight. And then we had the case manager and myself as was the program director. That's what I was called then. I believe now they're called house managers. and the program director, because I had to develop all the programs we were going to do and everything. And that's where the teaching and business background came in. Like I said, felt like this is where what I was being groomed for.
Yeah.
And we had a beautiful staff, and the staff was fabulous when they were working with us. And we were also excited. We were so excited for the first mom to come. And it's like when that first baby comes, we just were like, oh my gosh, we got a mom, we got a mom. And then all of a sudden it was, oh my gosh, we got 3, we got 4, we got 5. And and the staff was fabulous. The mothers were great. There was such a camaraderie, I think, between the early staff and the moms. I know now our moms they come with so many more problems and so many more issues. And my hat goes off to the staff, and I pray for the staffs of the homes all the time now, because it's a lot different than when it was 11 years ago. Today, it's a lot different. But our staff would cook with our moms and teach our moms how to cook, and you just felt the love in the home, and you just felt it. You walked in and you felt it, and it was a presence there that was all the time. We had mass. Well, we said prayer every day. The moms still say prayer every day. We had mass once a month, and I remember one day we were having mass, and one of the moms with us, her name was Portia. She was a Jehovah's Witness, and she leaned over to me and she said, Miss JoAnn, if they ever found out I was in this chapel, I said, don't worry, I'll never tell them. So there were, there's no kind of stories. We had this one little boy, JJ. He would always come into the office, and I would keep gum in the drawer. And he would come and he'd look at me, and I say, hey, your mommy, okay. So we would have gum. So then he would go over, and I had a fax machine over there, and he'd play with the buttons. And I'd say, JJ, come on, and try to distract him. This was a ritual we did every day. He would come in, take a piece of gum, and he'd go over and he'd take and he'd do the numbers. And I say, JJ, come on, please stop. Let's do something else. I'm going to put you in timeout. So one day he comes in, he gets the gum. He goes over to the fax machine, plays with the gum. We had a little plastic chair. He brought the little plastic chair, and he sat in the plastic chair and folded his hands like that, like he was in timeout.
He was like, I know what the consequence is, and I'm willing to take it.
Exactly.
I got to play with this fax machine.
And if I can find that picture, I have that on my cell phone. I still have it. I just love it. It's a great picture. But and the nice thing too is when the moms come back, when they come back with their children, and to see how well they've done, and that's when you know that that's what you're supposed to do, and that's where God wants you.
Absolutely. It's so beautiful. I know in my own life and others that I've been blessed to talk with, the idea of that preparing, that you can then see, oh, this all was leading to this moment.
That's right.
Everything I've done in my life has led to now. And even some things that my own personal story with Good Counsel is we've had baby bottle drives at church before. I've seen that. It's not that it was a brand new idea to me, but when I was pregnant and I saw the baby bottles, I thought, whoa, wait, is that? It just hits you in that different way. God's like, okay, you've done all this. You're ready now to hear it. And here you go. And I think that's, it's really interesting to hear everybody's path. And that's what's so beautiful, well, about the Catholic Church, about the communities that we're in and we're serving, is just the varied expertise and background. It's not people who said, I'm going to work in social work. And we have those experts who knew that they were meant to work with people and work with vulnerable populations. But also we have the experts that come in from every other level of background, to just give of their gifts, and we need it all.
Yes, we did.
We need it all.
We had some wonderful staff in our childcare, and like I said, our case manager was wonderful, and the needs today are just so different for the staff today, and that's why we need the prayers and additional support and help from everyone, because it's tough. It's tough there today.
It is, and it's a testament to the world that we live in. For better or worse, it's the testament to the world we live in, the gravity, the intensity of brokenness, of
Yes.
the wounds. The wounds are deeper, the wounds are worse. And just as a society, we have less God. Even
Yes.
if you weren't going to church, even if you weren't Catholic, the rhythm of life was based on Jesus, the rhythm of our communities, the day and the week, and the
Yep.
idea of even Sunday being a day of rest, just all of it. I was talking recently with someone about this, that they, sports and any of those things, nothing was
Everything.
ever planned on Sunday, because we knew that most Americans were spending it in some sort of reflective, restful way.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
just the absence of that, the absence of those rhythms and routines, and that feeling of just God being present in our world, has just obviously led to what we're dealing with now. And working with the most vulnerable means we are working with the most wounded.
Yes.
Um,
Most definitely.
and and so yeah, so the challenges are definitely different. Um, but as just as there's a new generation of wounded, there's a new generation of helpers, right?
Yes,
There's a
there
new
is.
generation of these women, and mostly women in our homes, but the maintenance men and the support staff, of good men that are standing up and being that witness of what a good man is to these women who maybe have
Exactly.
never seen it. But the women that we have working in the homes today are strong and resilient and ready for this challenge, ready to go deep and walk with the moms that we have, the needs of the moms. And so I think that's
Yes, they
so,
are.
yeah,
And they genuinely care for them.
oh
They
yeah.
they genuinely care for them, and they bring their background, and many have walked in the same shoes, and they
Mm-hmm.
know that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our mothers will come back and talk to our current mothers that are there, which is wonderful because
Mm-hmm.
they can see where their path is. And
Yeah.
the same thing with the staff. When I walked into our South Jersey home just the other day, that we have a new staff member. She was in there making brownies with the moms in the kitchen, and I thought, oh, how beautiful is that?
Oh
That's what
yeah.
it's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
I kind of stood at the door and just watched for a minute before I walked in. It was great. It was wonderful to see. Wonderful to see.
And that's what's so beautiful about this, if you want to call it the good counsel model, is it's always about the moms.
Yes.
It's about
Mhm.
her, where she
Yep.
is, what does she need. So really, there's no limits on what we'll do to help the mom. There's no limits on whatever her situation is, whatever her needs are, that we can ever say we can't help you, because we're
Correct.
set up to be that person who says, okay, we'll figure out what to
Hmm.
do. We have the experts, we have the network, that whatever it is you need, we're treating you like you're a member of our family, and we're going to do whatever it takes, and stick with you, even if you leave and come back, and leave and come back, as we know, a lot of
Hmm.
women experience trauma. A lot of women in abusive situations, it sometimes takes 3 and 4 times for them to fully commit to
Right.
to leaving that
Right.
situation. And so
And
I just
and see,
know.
and many times our mothers will come in and they'll just tell you just enough to get into the door,
Mm,
because they're afraid that if you know everything, that you're going
right,
to reject them as they've been before.
right.
And that's what I always used to tell the staff. You have to realize it's a brick wall, and you've got to just chip away at that brick by brick, and the wall's going to come down. And it does. And it does.
Mhm.
And once that wall comes down, then our mothers see how we're trying to help them. And I always said, we meet our mothers where they are and help them to move forward.
Absolutely. On one of my roles, uh, in at Good Counsel, is I facilitate the manager meeting. So
Mm,
when all the call that we have on Wednesdays, and all the house managers call in, and some intake staff, and they kind of just discuss the needs in the homes. And I'm sure
right.
it's similar to what you were all doing then. Um, and I think it was from South Jersey. She said, you have to live up to your word. We were doing a Lenten reflection series. And so I guess one of the things we were talking about is trust.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we make sure that we are breaking down that wall and allowing, encouraging these moms to trust us so that we can help them. And she said it means that you have to stand by your word. So if you're promising a mom something, you cannot let her down.
Exactly.
You even if it's something like, hey, I'm gonna go pick up this thing for you at the food store,
Mhm.
or whatever it is, even those little ways are ways that that mom is almost testing us out, right?
Yeah,
And so if it's your day off, you're still going to come through for that mom because the work that you're doing can't be compromised in that way. And I thought it was so beautiful that the women that work in the homes are really, really aware of that and are sensitive to that, because the work is so grueling and they have families of their own. These are
exactly.
moms in their own right, and
Exactly.
their own families, their own challenges at home. And so the work is, there's shifts and people come
Hmm.
in to cover it. But if you're the person who said you were going to do something, then you have to be the one to come through. And they do.
And
They
that
truly do.
doesn't become any more evident than when they go into labor,
That's
because the
right.
staff has to go. I remember I had two mothers. They were both in the hospital and they were both in labor at the same time. They both wanted me to be with them, and I said, I'll do what I can. And it was my son's birthday that day, and I remember, and I was
Oh.
there the entire day and into the night. And the doctors knew of Good Counsel. So
Mhm.
the one was going to be a C-section. So he actually delayed the C-section until the first baby was born. And then
Ah.
they probably wouldn't do that today. And then they shooed me out of that room and took me into the delivery room for the C-section. And
Oh, wow.
and it was, I know Chris and I, we always laughed about that, but that's it. That's your word. If you say you're going to do something, you have to
Hmm.
be there, because their whole lives, mothers have had people say, you can count on us, we'll be there. And it doesn't happen. And
Yeah,
that's
they've
why
been
our
failed too
word
many
is,
times.
yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why that wall, it'll break, it'll crumble, but you just have to be patient and you have to be true.
You have to be true.
Hmm.
I spoke with Vanessa earlier this year, and Vanessa is the program director for all of the
Yes.
homes. And
Hmm.
I know you know,
Yes.
but she told a great story, her favorite story, and I guess it was her first story of being in the delivery room. Um, there was a mom who had her list of like 5 people to call, and not a single one came, even though some of them answered the phone and just said no.
Oh,
And so Vanessa was there. Vanessa was in
right.
the room. Vanessa held her leg while she was
Oh my
delivering.
God. Wow.
Vanessa got her ice chips. And then after everything was done and the baby was delivered and they were resting, the mom looked at her and she goes, because I think Vanessa said something like, do you need more ice chips? Or she goes, you're still here. You're still here. You don't know me and you're still here. And I think that just sums it up right there. It, we have to be Christ. We have to let the Holy Spirit work through us to
Yes,
be there for the mom as if we were
absolutely.
her most trusted person. And that continues, like you said, all the way through when they're out of the program, when they're living on their own. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, this is their family. This is their
It
first
is.
family,
It
and
is.
that they can trust. And so they come back for meals, the
Yes, they do.
holidays,
They
they
do.
come back to help the home, speak with the
They
moms
do.
that are currently in the home. The kids are growing up, and I think
Mhm.
so. There is Ernie was our first
Yes,
was
Ernie was
our
Ernie's
first
little boy.
child.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
old is he now? Is he 13?
Well, he's got to be 13. Yeah. Yeah. He's got to be.
13.
Yeah. And
And so these kids are,
I,
yeah.
I believe they're down south. And
Okay.
and they're doing well. They're doing well.
Mm.
A lot of our moms
It's
are doing very well.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to, I mean, even if a mom, sometimes we try to impress this upon the staff when we're talking to them about successes and what does success
Mhm.
look like, and it's not always okay. Well, now that mom's got a successful career and a you know
Mhm.
6-figure job and the
Right.
house and it's not always that. It's that she came to you in the first place. It's that
Yeah.
she took that step and she now has in her story someone who was true, who spoke life to her. And so what she chooses to do with that is still her own. It's still her life,
Exactly.
but she had someone there for her. And I think that that's so important when we're facing the challenges in the home, to remind our staff that you have already impacted her life so
That's right.
greatly
That's
and
right. And
forever.
you know, if you come into this kind of work for thank yous, you might as well just turn
No,
around,
no.
because it's not going to happen. But once in a while,
Yeah.
you do get them. And I remember this as we were talking. We had a mom there, and she and I were like oil and water. And if I held this white piece of paper up, she'd argue with me that it was black. But she
Mhm.
was probably one of the best mothers that we ever had in my interim, the best mothers I ever saw. Years after she left us, she called, and her daughter's name was Brooklyn Dior. What a great name.
That is
So
great.
she called, and one of the staff still happened to be there that remembered her, that was there. And she said, you know, she said, I'm looking back now, I realized how horrible I was, and I wasn't a nice person. But you all stuck with me, and I am today where I am because of you, and I want to thank you.
Wow.
That was it was wonderful. And what she was a security guard at one of the casinos, which was the best job for her.
She was tough. That's
It
right.
was tough, yeah. But you're not for the thanks. Your thanks is
No.
when they leave and they're successful and they're on their own, or when they get the job, or when they get the job interview, you know, or when the baby is born, or when the baby takes the first step. That's your thanks. That's your thanks.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this convent? And I've walked through it a couple of times, and it really is such a cool space. I
Yeah,
know
it
some of
is.
our other homes are homes that have been converted into these single bedrooms, and they each have their own vanity and sink. And but this is a convent. It was
Yeah,
like made for this. Can you
yeah,
tell me
it
just
was.
about the physical
It
structure?
was when whoever was running it there, everything was in the chapel. All the nuns' dressers, their beds, their lamps. You couldn't move in that chapel. And we
Mm.
had a Boy Scout group. He was going for his what's that next award in scouting that he had to go for. But he got the whole group, his whole group, and they did everything for us. They carried up
Mm.
all the furniture. Even the pews weren't in the chapel. They were downstairs in the basement, covered with I don't know what. They set up all the rooms for us. They nailed all the pews into the chapel. Um, they absolutely did everything. We had volunteers, neighbors were unbelievable. They were just incredible. After 4 months, you know, they said, oh, well, this is not going to be a good home. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. And one of our neighbors said to us, after we had been open about 3 months, he was talking to one of the other neighbors, and one of the neighbors said, I knew that place wasn't going to open up. And he said, they've been open 3 months, you know. Uh, but there were a lot of volunteers that did a lot of all the work, all the work. I mean, the general contractor did what he had to do, but then after that, it was all on us. So we all the furniture and everything was moved upstairs. We had to get all the Wi-Fi. We had to do all of this. Funny story about the upstairs rooms. Mother Superior had a suite, and when our electricians came, they couldn't figure out what was going on with the lights, because Mother Superior in her room had one switch that controlled all the lights on the second floor. So when Mother Superior said lights out, it was out.
Lights were
The entire first second floor was out. So they had a heck of a time figuring out how to rewire all that electricity, but they did, you know. We had students come in, seniors in high school and a couple in college, art majors that came in and took Mother Superior suite, but because now it was going to be our childcare. And it was one big room, and there was a bathroom. They painted everything on the walls. They did jungle scenes and graphics and all kinds of things. So when they walked into there, it was a true daycare center for our moms. It was happy, it was healthy, and it was educational. It was all that.
such joy in that
It
home.
was.
So
Yeah.
how many rooms do you have? And they're all private suites, private
Yes,
private bedrooms.
there are 9 rooms, and
Hmm.
there's one handicap room downstairs.
Okay.
3 rooms are on the second floor. All the rooms are on the second floor except the handicap on the bottom floor, the main floor. 3 rooms in the upstairs are a little larger to accommodate mothers that may have, 1 or 2 children with them
With her,
when they're
right.
pregnant. Yes. And
Right.
then, so we have all the rooms on the upstairs. The downstairs, the childcare has now been moved to downstairs. And in the main floor level, we have the offices, our case manager office, our chapel, our family room, and our dining room and the kitchen. And that's all on the main floor. And the handicap room is down there also.
And the bathrooms also struck me too as just so cool for the space and the need. Because it was a convent, there's
Yeah.
stalls in the bathrooms.
Yes.
You have multiple
Yes.
showers,
Yes.
multiple bathroom stalls and
Bathroom. Yeah.
sinks, and
Huh?
it's
Yeah.
so
It
cool.
was it was meant to be. It was meant to be a home. It really was. It
It
really
almost
was.
makes you want to find every single convent that might be not, you know what I mean? That's not in use for
Exactly.
that purpose, and it needs to be a maternity home. It
It
just
really
lends
was. It
itself
really was
perfectly.
ideal. And it really was ideal because you had a large family room, because that's where the nuns would
Hmm.
gather. You had a large kitchen, and you had a
Yeah.
large kitchen eating area to
Right.
accommodate everybody. So it worked out very, very well. And the grounds were beautiful. I mean, you had the parking lot, because
Yeah.
it was adjacent to the church, which actually the church that was there was not functional anymore, and it was wonderful because we used it for all our overflow donations. So we had,
Mm.
like, the whole first floor of the school was all our donations. And then one time Father David came over to me, said, "JoAnn, I want you to sit down." I said, "What?" He said, "We're going to tear down the school." I went, "No, what are we going to do with all
Oh,
the donations?" But everyone was so very, very supportive, and we tried to involve the neighbors as much as we could. Whenever a baby was born, we would fly a balloon outside, a pink or for a
mm.
girl, boy, and they would go by. Oh, another baby. We had our mothers make donuts, and not donuts, cupcakes and brownies and things, and take them around to the neighbors, like on holidays, Easter and stuff, just so they would realize that, our moms they just needed help. They just made some wrong
Right.
choices, and we were there to help them, get on the road to independence so they could take care of their child and become productive members of society.
It's such life. I know that there's concerns with finding the right spot, and so that's
Right.
where God's grace really and wisdom, guides you. But to find that spot in a community and be welcomed in the community,
Yes.
and I think people don't realize. I'm sure that most people listening to this won't realize what goes into starting a maternity home, but it is quite a challenge to find the right spot and the right community that will welcome. And
Yes.
then also on the flip side, be safe for moms and babies. I mean, these are
Yes.
very vulnerable women and their children, a lot of which are escaping domestic
Yes.
abuse situations. And so
Mhm.
you want her to not only be safe, but to feel safe. And so it's quite a challenge to find the right spot. And that really is a lovely street, a lovely
It,
street.
it really is. Plus, we
Um,
have the river line there too, which
yeah,
they can go right, take all their appointments in Burlington or wherever else they have to go. So it works out very well.
yeah, it's perfect. It's what God wants and what
Yes.
the community needs. And so I know, let's see, what are some of so you have 128 babies to
Yes. And
date that
I
have
think,
been born to this
mhm,
specific Good Counsel home?
yep, and a set of twins. And in
Mm.
fact, I think we have another set that's coming up that's due now also. Uh,
Yes,
we've
yes.
we've we've helped over, I'm sure, 150, 200 moms through the 11 years. I'm sure moms that come and stay with us,
Mm.
moms that may just come for a short period of time, just to them to get back on their feet. We've helped mothers earn their GEDs. We've helped moms. We have two of our moms, our earliest moms actually, are both working at Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital. One is a nurse and one is a pharmacy tech. We've graduated CNAs. We've graduated cosmetologists. We've graduated a chef from Cathedral Kitchen. We've graduated real estate agents. And, a lot of our moms have the mall jobs too, just like
Mhm.
we all had. It's not a career path, but at least it's a step in the right direction for them.
So what's so wonderful about the South Jersey home, we have Good Counsel has 4 homes in the 3 in the New York area and then 1 in Riverside, New Jersey. And each of the homes is blessed to have a chapel in which we have monthly mass. The tabernacle has the body of Jesus in there as a presence in the home and is there for adoration or for rest for a mom to be able to sit in front of and for staff to sit in front of. And but what's so cool about the South Jersey home is that it was a convent. So it has this chapel that's already so beautiful and these pews. And do you want to talk a little bit about having the chapel there and how it's set up?
Yes, the chapel it's your place of peace and comfort. And the chapel was really just a place to put all the junk when we first opened the doors. And once the chapel kind of got put back together again, we have the Stations of the Cross actually are from our church. They're from a different church, but they're absolutely beautiful. Father David brought us an altar, so we had an altar from his parish that he wasn't using. We have the tabernacle veil again from another parish because I guess it was there, but it disappeared through the years. There was nothing there. And our moms do daily prayer every day. And on more than one occasion, when a mom has gone out for a job interview, they'll go into the chapel and maybe with the staff or maybe by themselves and just say a prayer. God, help me with this job interview. Our moms, most of our moms aren't Catholic, and we all know that come into the home, but they learn to respect. They respect and they realize that there is a God. You can call him whatever you want, but there is a God that takes care of them. And they feel that in that chapel. They feel that sense of calm and they're safe when they come into the chapel. And I love when the babies are in there and they're crying. It's great. I'm thinking, Jesus would love that. He would love to see all this activity in the
Life.
chapel. Yes, exactly. And when we have mass, it's wonderful. The moms, they come and they're respectful and they contribute. And the priests actually that come engage our mothers more too. And that's so important too for our moms to, especially the moms that are not Catholic and not reared in the Catholic faith, but to understand what that priest is. That priest really is acting in persona Christi. He's Jesus to these women. And when they interact with them, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see the response and how the moms will go up to the priest afterwards and ask for a blessing and ask their babies to be blessed and how the priests respond. And they'll go into the chapel. I think a chapel in every home is so very important. But in the South Jersey home, because it was a chapel, we feel we have a little extra edge.
You do. You have some beautiful statues of Our Lady too that were donated
Yes, we
there.
do. Yes, we do.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
we have
It's
we
beautiful.
have one we love. It's the Pregnant Madonna, which I had never
Yes.
seen. It's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful, beautiful.
Mm.
And at Christmas time, the children will go in and they'll set up the nativity and like
Hmm.
that. And one of our younger boys, little toddler, when we had guests come in, he would always take them by the hand and take them into the chapel and go to the end of the crucifix. He couldn't reach it obviously, but he'd go and he'd go, see, that's Jesus up there. He'd tell the people, that's Jesus, that's Jesus. So
Oh,
they were learning.
he
They were
lives with
learning.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was sweet. The same little
That's
boy who went
beautiful.
into timeout. That was him.
Ah, that is so sweet. And that's the beautiful thing. I know I hear a lot again on that manager call, which I'm so blessed to be part of. Um, the managers of the different homes, because it is a family, they're more like house mothers than house
Yes.
managers, right? They've become godmothers for many of the children, whether through baptism or dedication. Um, they they are they're that especially Nanette in the Spring Valley
Yes,
home. She has so many of the kids who miss Nanette. That's their home. They live with Miss Nanette.
that's right. That's right.
And that she's their constant, and she's always available for them. And I think that
Yes,
that's just such a beautiful part of this job, which is truly a vocation, is you're just being available, always there, so that it's not, okay, you can talk to me between the hours of. It's not that. You're
yes.
my I'm here, and the kids come in and out of the offices, and it's joy. It's all
And
joy.
that I'm sure that's the same in all the homes,
It
because
is.
it's an open door.
Hmm.
Because if that door is closed, there's that brick wall again, and now you're putting up the wall.
Right.
And
Right.
it's always open, and the moms know that. They know they can go to staff for anything, and so do the children.
Mm. Yeah. If nothing else, a mom is leaving having been touched by someone she can trust, someone in her life. Part of her story is someone was there
Right.
for her. But also the child has those formative years, the beginning times of joy, laughter, kindness, gentleness. Uh, that's one thing we take so for granted. So many children don't have that, or there's isolation or neglect, or God forbid, abuse. But these children have their first, sometimes even second years of life,
Yes, exactly.
um, with a family structure and with a rhythm that sometimes, a lot of our moms don't even have the rhythm of waking up and breakfast, maybe like you said, morning prayer, a routine to be productive in their day, with their schooling, or with job hunts, or going into their work. Even that, what time do we wind down the day? What time do we start dinner to have it on the table so that it's
Right.
consistent for their family and for themselves, and winding themselves down so that they can get their kids to bed at a good hour, and have that be a
Well, it,
constant.
it's all about preparing them to live life on their own. That's it.
Right.
Whether these life skills were offered to them, maybe they were offered to them, maybe they didn't listen to them when they were. Again,
Right.
it's not our place to judge. We
That's
meet
right.
them where they are, and we're just preparing them to be independent and live on their own, and come back to us. Come back for visits and bring the children, which is what they do.
JoAnn, I'm so excited that we got to spend this time together today. Before we go, do you want to say anything about opening a maternity home?
Would say, if you're inspired, then it's the Holy Spirit talking to you. And is it going to be easy? No, because as much as God is fighting for you, the devil is fighting against you, and he will do everything that he can to make this not happen. But like I've always said, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And
Mm.
he's not going to ask us to dance and nail our feet to the floor. So if you feel that this is your calling, then you absolutely surround yourself with the right people that have that same vision that you do, and just do it, because God has a bigger stake in this than all of us, and he's not going to let us fail.
Thank you again so much for being with me, JoAnn.
And thank you, Sam. It was a pleasure to meet you and learn about motherhood, and motherhood and is what life is about. And we are going to help the mothers with their and.
If a woman is pregnant, she shouldn't have to worry about how she's going to carry, deliver, and care for her child. She can call Good Counsel. We need you to help spread the good news that Good Counsel's doors are open for all women pregnant and parenting and in need. Please join us and be an advocate for motherhood. Subscribe to our podcast, Motherhood and, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please be sure to visit Good Counsel's website for more information and to get involved at goodcounselhomes.org. We ask that you share our maternity help website, help.goodcounselhomes.org. Please share this website with others often so that it will reach more women in need. Subscribe to Good Counsel's YouTube channel for more inspiring and edifying content about maternity homes, the pro-life movement, and the life and ministry of Good Counsel's founder, Father Benedict Groeschel. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Good Counsel Homes. If you have any questions or ideas for future guests or topics, please message us on Facebook or Instagram. Remember, life is love. Talk to you soon.